4th, 2022. The purpose of this meeting is to pass debenture bylaws. I am present in the council chambers along with Councillors Clerk, Jowett, Galloway, and Nowak. Everyone else is joining us virtually. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that today is the first meeting of Regional Council in Regional Council chambers reopened to the public since the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020. After 2.5 years of conducting meetings in a fully virtual format, we are pleased to welcome the community back in person to meetings in the council chambers. I'd also like to thank all members of Regional Council, regional staff, members of the public, local businesses, the media, and other stakeholders for their continued patience, flexibility, and understanding as the region of Waterloo pivoted our council and standing committee meetings to be held electronically, and we all got accustomed to the new normal of virtual meetings, Zoom rooms, screen sharing presentations. In-person participation is the default for members of Regional Council for standing committee and Regional Council meetings to allow for meaningful engagement and dialogue. Delegations and members of the public have the option to participate electronically or in person with a continuation of hybrid meetings. Delegations must still pre-register for both in-person or electronic participation by contacting the Regional Clerk's office. While we look forward to interacting with residents face-to-face again, we also recognize the benefits that hybrid meetings present. The hybrid model is designed to increase dialogue, collaboration, and the transparency and accessibility of council and committee meetings. It can also be used to reduce unnecessary travel or to accommodate busy schedules. Lastly, we must all continue to do our part to protect ourselves and others, especially during respiratory illness season. This includes practicing good hand hygiene, wearing a mask if required, or if you feel it is right for you, staying home when you are sick, and staying up to date with your vaccinations. Please continue to be respectful of other people's decisions of what's safe and what is comfortable for them, as we all learn to live with and manage COVID-19 for the long term. I'd also just like to acknowledge that in the chamber today, we have two commissioners who I understand that Jennifer Rose, who is our Commissioner of Environment and Engineering, actually was at the last meeting, but she is joined by Mathieu Getsky, who is the Commissioner of Transportation. So welcome to both of you. You're joining Commissioner Sweeney, and it's nice to see all this bench strength. So thank you for joining us. On behalf of Regional Council, I would also like to recognize that today is the National Day of Action for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and 2SLGBTQ+ people. We remember and honor these lives and stand with their families. Taking action to prevent this violence is an integral part of ongoing work for truth and reconciliation. Today is also Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. We wish our local Jewish community a day of joy, peace, and prosperity as they gather to feast and then to fast to mark this high holiday. Lastly, October marks both Islamic Heritage Month and 2SLGBTQ+ History Month. I want to thank the various organizations working to celebrate these communities and recognize their important place in our region. We always aspire to be more welcoming, more inclusive community, and it is achieved in large part due to the tireless work of so many involved in community organizations and networks working to make the region a better place. I would now call on Caitlin Gillies, Committee Clerk, to call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Regional Chair Redmond.
Present.
Councillor Verbanovic. Councillor Jaworski.
Here.
Councillor Clerk. Present. Councillor Lorentz.
Present.
Councillor Jowett.
Present.
Councillor Erb.
Present.
Councillor Nowak.
Present.
Councillor Kiefer. Councillor McGarry.
Present.
Councillor Armstrong.
Present.
Councillor Harris.
Present.
Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Councillor Strickland.
Here.
Counselor Foxton,
Present.
and Counselor Galloway.
Present.
Thank you, counselors.
I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather virtually today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and their contributions to our community. I now ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Seeing none, I would now entertain a motion to go into Committee of the Whole to consider reports. Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Please use your icons to vote. That is carried, colleagues, and we are now in Committee of the Whole. First agenda item is 5.1, Finance Reports. It's Regional Debenture issue dated October 7th, 2022. This is one report outlining debenture bylaws, and it's for information only, although Mr. Dyer is on the line if we have any questions. Are there any questions of the issuing of these debentures? Councillor Galloway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With rising interest rates, I'm wondering, Craig, if the debenture that we are approving today meets our budget projections for the interest rate.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. When we put our budget projections together, we're perhaps predictably a little bit conservative in terms of the rates that we use. So we don't see this having any significant incremental impact into 2023. If anything, we've issued maybe a little bit less than we would normally have done around this time of the year. This is a relatively small issue, even by regional standards, $32 million. Usually we're in I think back to the spring issue, we were 50 million, usually in the 45 to 50 million range. With a sense that rates were going to go up, we actually took, I believe, about 5 or 6 million of what we were going to issue this fall, and we added that on to the spring issue. So when we balance out the two and compare that, when we balance out the two issues from this year, spring and fall, and compare that to what we would have budgeted for 2023, I think we're well in line with our budget estimates.
And also, Madam Chair, just one further question. We take advantage, of course, of our AAA credit rating when we do these debenture calls. Can you actually project or predict what the rate would have been, or what difference there would have been in the rate had we been a AA or something less than AAA?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question, a difficult one for me to answer, and an answer that would actually vary over time, because it really comes down to invest demand, right? So if investors are comparing, say, a AAA Canadian municipality with a AA Canadian municipality, there's I guess from an issuer's perspective, there's a savings if you're a AAA. There's a premium that the investor would look for if they were investing in a AA versus a AAA. And that's going to vary over time. I'm going to say anywhere between, I'm going to say roughly maybe 5 to 10 basis points on any given issue, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're issuing $100 million a year, such as we're doing along with our local municipalities, it doesn't take long for 5 or 10 basis points to add up over a 10 or 15 or 20 year period. So it's going to vary over time, but I put it at somewhere between 5 and 10 basis points.
Okay, thanks very much, Craig. And Madam Chair, I just want to remind everyone the good management that staff and council have done over the years to maintain that AAA rating. It does pay off in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Galloway, and thank you for those questions. I see no further questions, and this is for information, so there's no motion required. But I would entertain a motion for the Committee of the Whole to rise and Council to resume. If I could have a mover and a second, moved by Councillor McGarry, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your icons to vote. That is carried, colleagues. So we are now in Committee of the Whole, and I would entertain a motion to adopt the proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. I could have a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Clerk, seconded by Councillor Shantz. Please use your icons to vote. That is carried, colleagues. So now I would entertain a motion to enact bylaws first, second, and third readings, and these are bylaws A through F that are in your written report. If I could have a mover. Moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your icons to vote yes or no. That is carried, colleagues. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Clark. Please use your icons to vote. Shockingly, that is carried, colleagues. So if you would just remain where you are, we need about 5 minutes to